What's up? Today I'm going to take you through one of my workouts. Today we're going to hit posterior, which are all the muscles on the back side of the body. So hamstrings, glutes, back muscles, all that good stuff. I always start my workouts though first with mobility. So here's one of my full mobility routines to get my body feeling good. Started off by seeing how the neck's feeling. All right, then we go into a little bit of a back bend to just open up the chest, and then we get into some obliques. Now, when I hit mobility, my focus and attention is primarily on my joints. All right, focusing in on all the joints from my feet all the way up into my neck. Making sure that I get all the snap, cracks, and pops out of them, making sure that I get them nice and lubed up, ready to be able to work. And in the process of focusing in on these joints, it's going to allow my muscles to get warmed up as well and allow me to have the best range of motion, the best balance and stability activation through my whole workout. It also allows me to give my body a scan to see what's going on, making sure that everything's engaging properly, everything's feeling good before I go straight into lifting. And if anything seems to feel off, it's gonna give me an idea of, okay, maybe I should lay off some of the weight today, or maybe I should do some different movements that's not gonna continue to aggravate something that might already be aggravated if I'm not able to get a release or build up the mobility through my mobility circuit that I'm doing here. So as you saw, started off with making sure that the neck feels good. That's been one of my areas that I really want to make sure my neck is feeling good, loose, and everything is feeling good there before we get into our lifting. Then went into some obliques, got those obliques going through. Then we went into focusing in on the lower back hamstrings with some of those rotational sways and then full rotations, following the hand up with the eye. Then my favorite right here are the spinal waves. All right, if you haven't tried this movement, this is one of the best mobility movements that I do for the entire body. I then walk it out into a upward dog, get some rotations within the hips. My hips have caused me the most issues, so I really bring my focus and attention to my hips. Make sure that those hips are feeling super good before we get into any big lifting movements. All right, from there we're going to get into a little downward dog. We're going to pedal it out after we get these rotations finished up, and then we start to get into some more hip into low back mobility with what I like to call the world's best stretch. But first we're going to get into this downward dog, pedal it out. All right, from here we're getting the calves, we're getting the hamstrings, we're getting the back, the shoulders, everything nice and loosened up and activated for our workout here today. And also, if you worked out the day before, this is just going to be able to work out any of the kinks, any of the tightness, any of the tension that you may be feeling from that workout the prior day before. Here it is, the world's best stretch. I love this one right here. I do about 5 on each side for this one. And again, just focusing in on seeing how the left side feels compared to the right side and whatnot. Now, this is a little bit of a more challenging one. I know it's kind of hard to see because my camera is not faced all the way down, but getting internal to external rotation with the leg that is straight. I'll end up doing another video with a better camera angle on this mobility, but yeah, bring it back to that same side I was on and really focus in on getting a good rotation in the hip. A lot of times I get a nice pop out of the hip that brings a lot of relief and opens up the mobility for the hips before I get into my workout. But once I do one side, I get back into that calf pedal. Typically feel that the calves and everything in that posterior chain is feeling a lot more mobile and flexible. Then we hit that other side, same thing. Whatever you do on one side, you're always going to want to do on the other side as well. And the purpose of this is for you to take a mental note on how each side feels in comparison. Does one side feel tighter? Does one side feel less stable? Does one side feel more balanced? Does one side feel stronger than the other? These are very important things to take note of as we're getting the body warmed up, or even during your lift sessions, or even through your flexibility blocks or your cool downs. Being able to understand and really connect with your body and feel how it feels between the left and right side is so important, because by you focusing in on bringing that balance to the body on a joint and muscular level is what can really save you and prevent injuries later down the line, as well as just allow you to have better life, right? Having a balanced body is going to bring more life into your life. All right, now we're wrapping it up. Nice hamstring stretch. Make sure those hamstrings are feeling nice and loose and ready to lift, as we are going to hit some deadlifts today, along with a lot of other things. So again, hitting that posterior, making sure the posterior is feeling good. Now, since we will be doing legs, I always get in some 90-90s. Again, one of the best movements you can do for the hips. Just getting the hips nice, lubed up, feeling good. Allow the snap, cracks, and pops to get out of those joints, as well as just warm up the muscles that we're going to be focusing in on for that lower body here today. This is just a simple rotational 90-90s. Then we're going to go into some forward folds, and then we get into a leg extension. Now, typically I like to do 5 on each side for a total number of 10. All right, and then now we're going to get into those folds. I'll do 5 on one side, 5 on the other side. Now, this is going to help be able to just get all of the stuff within the hips into the hamstrings and into the quads feeling good, like all of the tendons, the muscles, the attachment points, as well as your knee joint and your hip joint and even your ankle joint a little bit here too. So just making sure that all the joints are feeling good and we've got proper energy flow throughout, all right, the calf muscle into the hamstrings, the quads, and then into that glute and going up into the upper body. And again, focus in on posture, get that posture nice and set. One thing we really want to focus on when we get this forward fold is to not hunch the back. That's why I typically keep one hand off to the side to keep that upper back posture, and then I focus in on that reach to really focus in on that good posture through this fold. And we're going to lengthen and flex that lower back a little bit. So it is going to get a little stretch as well, a little activation into that lower back, but that is good, especially as we're getting into some posterior and a lot of hinging movements today. Now we're going to get that hip joint, all right, nice and warmed up by getting this extension from that back leg, maintaining posture here. All right, bringing that knee up, foot up, and extending it out in front. We're getting the ball joint within the hip working, and are getting all those snap, cracks, and pops out, getting it ready for the lifts. All right, again, doing that other side. 5 on each side, really focusing in on the posture, using both hands to stabilize and support the posture as we get that hip joint working. And again, 5 reps on each side. And now I love doing these 90-90s before a workout for some dynamic mobility, but also after the workout as well as the next day. Ryan, what's up? We just got done with mobility, and now we're going to get into a posterior workout. All right, doing some hamstrings, glutes, and some back, and maybe throwing a little biceps in there. But overall, our purpose is to start building our deadlifts. We want to build more strength in our deadlifts, and we want to build more strength in our lat muscles specifically, biggest muscle in the back, to really build up that upper body strength for the posterior. So we're going to get a nice little warm-up power set, and then we'll start diving into those deadlifts. So here we go. Got our bar set up. We're going to get a nice little warm-up, make sure everything is feeling good. I like to start off with some straight leg RDLs. Now, one thing that a lot of people get confused are, what are RDLs and what are deadlifts? All right, RDLs is typically starting from the hip and going down, not touching the ground. So therefore, we're keeping constant tension mainly on the hamstrings, a little bit on those glutes. All right, and that's the difference between your RDLs and your deadlifts. And you'll see me do more. We're going to focus in on increasing the weight on these movements and decreasing the reps. So we went through those RDLs, got the hamstrings, glutes activated. They're feeling good. Now we're getting into some more power with these cleans coming through, getting that core really activated, getting the heart rate up, the blood flowing, all that good stuff. And then we're going to go into some overhead reverse lunges, get the posture, get the shoulders, all that good stuff. Nice, warmed up, activated, feeling good, as well as the balance and stability for both the left and right side. I'll be talking more about unilateral movements throughout this entire workout and the importance of unilateral movements and really having those as a staple within your workouts to build balance in the body. If you know you have a dominant side, this is where unilateral movements really come into play and are really important. Now, as we get into our second round, you notice I added some weight on there, so went from just the bar, which, if you didn't know, the bar weighs 45 pounds on its own. Now we added two 10-pound plates, so now we're at 65 pounds here. Again, going into those RDLs, allowing a little bit more tension coming onto the hamstrings and just slowly, gradually building up those hamstrings as we get ready to hit those deadlifts coming up in a little bit. We went right into our cleans, again, getting that power coming through. Activation, all right, really in that core, bringing power through cleans, such a phenomenal core movement to really get that core strengthened as well as engaged, all right, for the movements coming up. Plus, again, it increases the heart rate, which boosts the metabolism and really just sets you up for an awesome calorie burn for your workout. I love hitting cleans. Then, again, we're going to go into our overhead reverse lunges. Getting that balance, getting that stability, working that unilateral movement, building up posture, all right, and also building up those shoulders too. This is a fucking hard movement, to be honest with you. So if you do try this, try with just the bar or maybe try with a dumbbell on just one side, lightweight. Make sure that the shoulder has the stability as well as the strength within the joint to maintain, all right, the movement without it getting sloppy, which means the shoulder and the dumbbell swaying around. We want to keep it nice and controlled. Now, I did go for an additional set on that power circuit. We added another 10 pounds to each side and rolled through that. Then we went and built up the strength for this deadlift. Started off with 145-pound plate on each side, then went to 2. Now we're at 3. My goal here specifically is to build up the amount of reps I'm able to do at 315 pounds. Now, focusing in on feeling the tension on the bar there, and then driving through the whole foot, getting the hamstrings, getting the glutes activated, but making sure we got good posture with hips down, eyes up, shoulders rolled back, getting those hips pushed forward, engage the glutes, and boom. All right, we got 2 reps, which is better than what we did 2 weeks ago. I'm happy with it. Then we went right into the back, getting these rows coming through, building up the weight, all right, focusing in on squeezing the shoulder blades as we pull that bar up. I love hitting this variation, especially after I do something like deadlifts. It just keeps the tension off the hips as my hips are really feeling it going through that heavy weight. So nice little option to get some rows in. Then one of my favorite movements to build up mobility within the lat muscle. All right, the lat muscle is that muscle you could see right underneath the armpit there. Now this is a single arm pullover. I'm going lightweight with this one, 5 reps on each side just to lengthen out and get that lat activated as well as work any kinks within the shoulder girdle and all of that. Now I primarily do this as a mobility movement. All right, as you can see, I am arching the back. A lot of times you'll hear people say within pullovers, lat pullovers, like this bridge position pullover, to not arch your back. However, I found with arching the back specifically, all right, bringing those hips down as I try to let that dumbbell go as far back as I can, I usually try to let it hit the ground, all right, is going to really help lengthen out everything, all right, from the hips all the way up to the shoulders. So we're talking obliques, we're talking the lat muscle, and all the little things in between. And this is going to really help me as I get into more of my lat focused movements. As I said, I'm focusing a lot more on the lats. I've had some issues with my lat on my right side with activation and stuff. So this to me is really important on making sure that everything's feeling good before I go into my lats focused movements. Now we're going to increase the weight choice with both hands and focus in on the engagement and the strength of the lats. Not so much on that mobility. However, I do focus in on trying to get a little bit of a stretch, but it's more focused in on building up that weight, all right, building up the strength and getting those lats ready to do some pull downs, to do some more rows, as well as do some pull-ups and whatever else I want to throw at those lats for the workout. All right, so again, I started off with 15 pounds on the single arm. Typically, I start most of my clients off with about 5 pounds, and if they're feeling good and they feel they can go a little heavier, then we'll go a little heavier. But again, that single arm is something you want to start off light with and then see how you feel with it and then challenge up the weight choice depending on how you felt with both hands on. Now, next we're going to get into some single arm low rows. Now, I am feeling a little tired at this point. All right, so I could have a little bit more control in this movement, but as you notice, I start from the ground and swing it back to the hip. Again, the control could come down on the way down as I go from the hip back down to the ground. Could use a little bit more control here, but this range of motion is extremely important for the low rows. All right, get that stretch, lengthen it out, and then pull it back to the hip. Now we're going to get some reverse grip low rows on this inclined bench. I love hitting this one because not only is it going to get the back muscles super juiced up, but it's also going to get those biceps activated. All right, again, lengthening forward and pulling back to those hips is how you want to hit your rows. Next, we went for a little bit of a bicep drop set. Started off with 40-pound dumbbells for the single arm bicep curls. And then as soon as I started to feel the fatigue or I went to failure, we went ahead and dropped it down 10 pounds. All right, went with 30-pound dumbbells for as many reps as I could. So basically till failure. All right, I got both arms first with the 40-pound dumbbell. Then we went ahead, dropped the 40, and grabbed the 30 for this drop set. Now, drop sets are great for building strength. All right, you want to build strength, hit drop sets, go until failure with the heavy weight, then drop that weight, go lighter, and keep working it. This is also going to bring endurance to that muscle that you're specifically focusing in on, which ultimately is going to build up the strength within that muscle. So, hitting the biceps, you want bigger biceps, start hitting some drop sets. And you'll start to not only build up the strength, but you'll also start to build up the definition within those biceps, and you'll have some good looking arms coming up. Now, after this, we went ahead and moved on to some lower body. We gave the back a little bit of a break. We started to hit the lower body again, really targeting up glutes and hamstrings. Now, this next movement you're going to see is a newer movement, really focusing in on lengthening out the glutes so we can get a big contraction. All right, this step down toe tap is it's not an easy one, primarily because this machine weighs a shit ton on its own. So depending on how your stability, your balance is, and your posture, as well as glute strength, this is more of an advanced movement to be hitting. But I want to talk about the unilateral purpose of it. All right, now you can do this movement without the machine. If you have a bench or a stool that is sturdy, you can always do it on that. However, though, getting unilateral movements into your workouts, just like I talked about earlier, is extremely important. All right, as someone that dealt with a hip issue, myself focusing in on my left and right side, as well as being able to balance the muscle strength in the glutes, in the hamstrings, and all of that stuff is extremely important to bringing a balance to my body as far as the strength as well as muscle activation. And that's specifically what unilateral movements do. They help rebalance any dominant or less dominant side and allow you to bring an equal amount of strength to both the left and right side. All right, now we're going to go right into some hip hinge swings, getting the power back into it, the heart rate back up, and now putting that unilateral work to the test, all right, by getting a full body movement. Hip hinge swings, amazing movements, not only for the hamstrings and glutes, but also for your core too. So remember that. Hip hinge swings, amazing for the core. Now, again, we went back into both legs here, focusing in on really pushing the strength. We got 315 pounds on each, or in total with the plates there, 3 plates on each side. Again, not sure how much the actual machine weighs, but it's probably a little bit more than 315 pounds. This one kicked my butt. Literally felt the hamstrings, my butt, as well as a little bit of that back, that posterior, all connected through with this movement. Great movement getting these. I'd call it more of a good morning coming through with this variation, but honestly, it was tough. We built the weights up on this. We started with 2 plates on each side, then went to 3 plates, and we integrated in a split stance deadlift for more unilateral work, primarily focusing in on the hamstrings and glutes. Now, I do love this split stance deadlift, again, because it's allowing me to see where the hamstrings and glutes are at in that posterior from my left to right side. Again, I had a hip issue that really brought a lot of problems to the lower body, and this was a couple years back. However, all right, I still find it acting up here and there if I don't properly take care of my body. So it is something to take note of, is if you have a prior injury, all right, just because you get recovered doesn't necessarily mean that that injury is going to be gone for forever. It could just be one little thing that you do wrong or don't properly get warmed up or whatever it may be that could bring that injury right back. So I'm always focusing in on that injury prevention by incorporating, like I said in the beginning of this video, starting off with mobility, flexibility, taking that scan of the body to see how everything's working and feeling before I get into the heavy lifting. And then I do a ton of unilateral movements through my workouts to make sure that everything is activated and working the way that it should be and that I want it to, and that I'm feeling good. And ultimately, I'm building up more, security for my body through all of the active and crazy shit that I like to do in my everyday lifestyle as a dad, as a husband, and as just an overall adventurer. Now, we brought it inside, we gave the legs a break, and we focused in on finishing up with the upper body. Again, I wanted to focus in on the lats, so we got the pull downs here. Now, as you notice, hands are right on the angle part of the bar. Bringing the hands out super wide isn't going to do anything better. If anything, it's just going to decrease your range of motion, and keeping the hands a little bit more inside could help if you have any shoulder discomfort, but ultimately, if you want to really get the lats and everything really engaged in the back, right around where you start to get that bend on the bar here is a great position to put your hands out. And then we want to bring that bar all the way to the chest. Keep up good posture, shoulders rolled back. Bring a little bit more power on the way down, slight pause, and a 3, 2, 1 count on the way up. And make sure you're breathing. That's something that I should have talked about. With everything, you want to breathe. So if we're talking about breathing with this movement, as I'm allowing the arms to come back to the machine, I'm breathing in as I pull those handles towards my body. I am exhaling out. Now, this is a little bit more of a closed grip, low row, getting more of the center part of the back. So your traps and all that good stuff in the center part of the back, a little bit of lats, but I switch up the bar to a wide bar, as you see coming up here, and that's what's going to target more of the lats rather than the inner part of the back where those traps and everything lie. And we went through about 10 to 15 reps on these, challenged the weight choice up, and again, focused in on that time under tension on the way back. Now again, focusing on that slow control on the way back to the starting position isn't only giving you time to get a good breath in, but it's also where we get time under tension. And time under tension is something extremely important when you're looking to not only build strength, but more so when you're building, tone and definition. If you want a really good physique, you should be really focusing in on that time under tension, because that's getting those muscles engaged and keeping them engaged for a decent amount of time. All right, now we went into assisted pull-ups. Now, just for your information, I can do a regular pull-up with no assistance. In fact, I can do quite a bit. However, though, having pull-ups towards the end of my workout is fucking hard. So I don't want to, overcompensate anything or undercompensate anything for my upper body, because like I said in the beginning, I've had some issues with my lat activation, and now we're really just trying to be able to build them up. They've been feeling good, and I don't want to overdo it. So having some assistance here, I'm doing 4 rounds of 20 pull-ups, and in between these pull-ups, I'm hitting these bar curls. We're going close grip for more of the outer part of the bicep, and now we're getting more of the inner part of the bicep with this wide grip. This wide grip's going to really bring that ball type shape to the biceps, and overall they were solid. Then we went and hit the core. All right, now hitting a declined sit-up is one of my favorite movements to hit the core. When you're ready for a challenge, add some weight to it. Now, this is probably the most challenging way that you can do it, but hey, you know what? That's what I do. So this right here, I'm holding a 45-pound plate extended over my body and over the head through this range of motion. This is fucking hard. So if anything, if you are ready to add some weight on, just start with a dumbbell or a plate on the chest. However, though, I suggest you be able to get through 20 reps of a seated sit-up before you start to add weight. If you can get through 20 reps and feel good about it, then you're ready to add weight to it. And that's a really important part to knowing when to add more weight to your movements. If you get to a high rep count of anywhere between typically 12 to 20 reps and you feel really good with it, then that's your point then when you should start adding some more weight and challenge yourself with it. All right, after this, we got the fuck off the bench and we went into some obliques. All right, and with these obliques, I like hitting these obliques, just a nice standing oblique crunch, getting that slight lean with the dumbbell, allowing that or the plate to stretch out the opposite side. All right, I am targeting the opposite side. Where you see my hand on my hip, that is the side that we are targeting. Now, we are allowing that plate to lengthen out the oblique, and then we get that good contraction to the opposite side. And again, you always want to do both sides here. Don't know why you would only do one side. All right, you got two obliques, get them both, and challenge up the amount of reps you can do. I'm holding onto a 45-pound plate here, all right, and we're hitting a decent amount of reps. I don't know, usually I hit 10 to 15 reps here, and yeah. Now, I know you're probably saying, holy shit, this guy is just continuing to work out and work out. How long is this workout? We only got one more movement left to go, finishing up the core with some leg lifts. All right, now, with all of the movements that you've seen me did, I did anywhere between about 3 to 4 rounds with anywhere between about 8 to 20 reps in between, depending on the movement and what the focus was. With the exception of those deadlifts, those heavy deadlifts at 315, only did 2. Now, after this, we went ahead and did some cardio, got about 15 minutes of cardio in with one of my incline challenges. I'll talk more specifically to cardio workouts and stuff in a different video, but the biggest thing is a lot of people ask, should I do cardio before or after? I always suggest after. If your focus is on building strength and physique, do the cardio after with whatever energy you got left over. And yeah, seriously, fuck me, man. Oh, we started at 8 and it's almost 11. That was a long ass workout. However, though, we spent a lot of time making content. And just like the usual, all right, post-workout, we've got the coconut water. We've got a new one. It's called the dinosaur eggs. I love these. These have been my favorite since I was a little kid, and they finally got them back. So super stoked on those. And then we've got a nice red normal plum. We're gonna eat this. And then yesterday, we got a few watermelons, couple yellow, couple red. We're gonna go home. We're gonna eat up on the watermelon, but focus in on that posterior chain today, along with some core. Got our cardio in, and we're feeling good. We're feeling good. All right, so go and get your body moving if you haven't already, and then eat some fruit. So beautiful and so tasty. Love it. We'll see ya.